What's going on, everybody? My name is Ace, and welcome to Ace Plays. Today we're back in Rangeview for another episode. Last episode we built out this interesting little landing here, where we decided to do a good amount of residential expansion. I think to continue this episode, we're going to do the same thing. Looking back while I was editing the last video, I actually noticed some imperfections that I'd like to change to figure. I would like to figure those out and address those kind of at the beginning of the episode. Address some beautification, etc., and then obviously continue to expand as well. So we're going to start out with adding a little bit of a buffer between the highway and the area. Obviously, as we grow in population, we will include the sound barrier highways, but I don't even think we have those unlocked yet. Let me double check. Yeah, we don't. So we're very close. So I'll probably get there this episode. So we'll replace that once the time comes, because obviously having this be juxtaposed to a residential district is 100% less than ideal. That being said, I'm going to change to daytime because I like daytime, and slow down that day progression. So one other thing you might have noticed if you pay close attention to the audio. My mic has changed, and it's kind of a funny story. So I actually went to go record this video earlier, and I noticed that my OBS was not picking up the audio from my microphone. So I tried to troubleshoot that and realized that the microphone was kind of broken. So then I tested I have a nice headset, so I tested with that microphone to see if maybe I could find like an online deal or something in the meantime, and just use the one I already had, but it was insanely terrible. So I decided to upgrade, which I was planning to do if the channel gained some traction, but I'm happy to do it early, and I'm actually really happy with the results because I think it's a pretty solid microphone. So it's definitely an improvement in my eyes. So what I'm doing here is just making sure that everything is at a 90-degree angle in this area. I want it to be at a 90 because I feel like we do have some room to expand further, because the grade is actually kind of less steep here. So this can actually kind of expand and connect up this way. Obviously this side is a little bit steeper, so it's not as easy to do so. But because of that, we want to make sure that we have a nice solid grid that we can plug into whenever the time comes. So that is why I'm doing this. And I do kind of want to level these a bit. Okay. The thing with Move It is that you never know. Like, it might not be a 90, for example. So it's if you want to be 100% sure, your best bet is always to just redraw the roads as I did with the previous ones. So something to keep in mind. That did actually look pretty yeah, it is straight. Okay, cool. So it's actually a much better position we're starting in. And I did, we rewatched the video, it seemed like these were kind of at an odd angle. It does seem like they are. So I think if I just bring this bottom row down a little bit, that'll be that seems much better. Although I'm sure some of you are watching like, I don't see the difference, but I don't know. Seems better to me. So that being said, like I said, at the end of the last episode, our residential demand wasn't that high, but now it's pretty back up to being pretty healthy. So we're gonna go ahead and continue the development because we have so much money. I'm gonna be a little bit less conservative about how much development we're doing in this area. So I'm not super concerned about it at the moment. So I'm gonna probably build out this whole grid now. Okay, looks better. See, I want to make sure the optimal would be to have 8 across. I believe for these was 1. This looks like 7, because with 8 you would have no leftover, and like for example if you did 9, I believe this would be 9. There is some sort of residual, and that's also because of the angle of the roads that it is slightly awkward there, but it's fine for now. So that's 3, so you want 1 more. There we go. Again, we just want to maximize the usable space that we have. go. I want each block to have as much possible zoning as we can. It actually worked out perfectly, honestly. So we're gonna keep it going. I also want to say, so I've seen a lot of responses on the, or a lot of good reception on the first couple of episodes. I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate the support because I think that, like, the reason, obviously, I enjoy making the videos and I wouldn't do it otherwise. And as soon as I stop enjoying it, I wouldn't continue. But part of the reason I want to do this is because I feel like I've always really enjoyed relaxing kind of live build series, like not necessarily just City Skylines, but just strategy games where it's not so serious and you can kind of relax and enjoy somebody doing something in a you know, in a tactful way. So I think I'm just glad that's received well, and I really just appreciate the opportunity to create that type of content for people, because I think it's like something that's super missing. There's a lot of high energy stuff, which is great. Like it's fun to watch high energy gaming content as well, but there is a niche where people can sort of chill out and relax too, and that's kind of what I'm trying to do with this channel. So like I said, I really appreciate the kind reception that I've been getting in the first couple episodes. And also, like, this is one of the games where, like, it's hard to know how to do it right. So if you can watch somebody play and grow a city strongly and without any, because I remember when I was younger and I used to play this game when it first came out, like 2015 or whatever. I mean, I would build terrible cities and I'd be so confused as to why it wasn't working. So there's also, you know, ability to kind of shed some light on that. While that's filling in there, I've had this goal to re-establish where our electricity system was going to be. And now I actually noticed there's some lane issues here, so we're going to address that real quick. So there should be no U-turns, like, at all. That should not be a thing here. So I'm just going to fast forward, make sure nothing's happening. Okay, so the middle lane thinks they can. So we're going to stop that as well. So that, by the way, just another update. The script that I'm writing for the traffic mod presidential edition, that's coming along great. So soon that video should be out, potentially within the next week. So I'm very excited to get that out, to kind of get a different type of video out for you guys. And I think it should be pretty enlightening. I do plan to go into depth, and it will be edited. It's not going to be a, you know, kind of like a live tutorial, which seems to be pretty common in this area, in this niche. So hoping it's pretty good. Anyway, so we're gonna take some time to readjust where our power system is, our power grid is being supplied from. So what I'm gonna do is create the infrastructure first before I plop it down, because once I plop it, then we're gonna have some electricity availability issues. So I do want to just kind of avoid that from the jump. And I think that this area, this little, I guess it would be, I don't even know if it's, it might be a river, it might be I can't see how far it goes, so it's hard to know exactly what it is. But oh, you know what? I can do this. Hold up. Okay, never mind. Yeah, it just looks like some sort of river. Yeah, you can see it go past up there. So at the mouth of this river is kind of a great part for this to be, kind of, you know, hugging the sides. I mean, I think with that being said, actually, I would like to purchase this westward land just to have the access to the highway and also have access to the water on the other edge. It's only 5K, so might as well. So yeah, we can kind of line the edge with our renewable electricity sources. And I also think that the production of 2 of these is actually more than the entire rest of our electricity grid, so we can just go ahead and start demolishing those. And I will need to connect these, unfortunately, very unfortunately, but we'll have to do that for now until maybe we get another one to bridge that gap. Okay, so I'm going to check our availability. Yeah, so we're generating way more than we need, which is good. Which is a good thing, not a problem at all. We're going to delete those nasty ones off the beachfront, and we're also going to replace our water intake because it's not again, it's like just not in a good spot there. So obviously the river is perfect, but we just don't have the water infrastructure yet. So what I think I'll do is continue to bring in this road. doing a little bit of modification there. Let's just demolish this. Again, like at this stage of the game, it's not that big of a deal to do that kind of. In the early game, that can actually screw you over quite a bit, demolishing buildings that are already built. But at this stage, it's quite okay because we have healthy demand and we're doing fine. So, see, that's a 6-laner, and this is also a 6-laner, so that's fine. See, the challenge of building this area is just, again, this pretty steep slope, and I think that what I'll do is probably just end up flattening these all out, just so that we don't have kind of. I would rather us carve into that than have like as you saw, it was 2-sided slope, which is just not optimal, especially because after this it won't have a slope at all. It'll just be able to come back around. So. And I'll fix that joint there. I just like to make sure that I don't want those nodes to be too sharp, because they look weird. It's kind of hard to get it. You know what? I'm just gonna redo the freeform tool and hopefully improve it a bit. I think, like, looking back at it now, I could have done a much better job with how I structured this road. I kind of created more of a problem for myself than I needed to. It came a little close to this cliff here, or hill, I guess. But I guess the problem really wasn't the elevation; it was just everything else. So I will change the elevation and just bring the road down there. The problem was the curve. Yeah, that was the problem. So I guess redrawing the road is the best way to affect the curve. Move it is good for the elevation stuff. It's not as good for the curves. It becomes more difficult that way. So again, we're just going to drive that down a bit. It does give us some interesting opportunities for what we'll put up there. Oh, I see some electricity issues. Oh, so that's availability. Interesting. So the availability dropped. I'm sorry, the production dropped further than I expected. So that actually gives us a perfect opportunity to bridge this. Although, you know, I think I'll stick to my word. I'll put it side by side, and that'll still do. Yeah, I do want to keep this open for potentially, you know, you never know, ferry routes, maybe cruise lines. You never know. Obviously the cruise line won't. Well, the game doesn't actually pay attention to the bridges. It goes right through. But anyway. So I'm gonna, because there's some commercial demand, I'm gonna supply some here. I think it probably would have been better. What's going on? Why is that? Oh, makes sense. We're gonna address that like we said. So, that's actually the next on the list. But I should just finish out this zoning for a bit. It's kind of a good idea just to create a main road where people can get their groceries and things here and there, as opposed to, again, the more commercial we supply up here, the less people are going to be traversing this road. You can already see that this road has some issues. It's not congested, but it's not good. You can see it's pretty orangey, so it's definitely not perfect. We'll have to fix that at some point. So yeah, I'm going to keep this going. Again, like pro tip, if you're drawing at irregular angles like this for the water, it's always better to go from where it's going to end to connect to where you are, as opposed to going from the node that you already have to where you want it to be, because then the game kind of tries to interpolate where you want it to be. So we will relocate this here. It's going to be a perfect spot. I'm gonna have to quickly do this so that there's no issue, and then it's gonna have to connect right up. For now, we will further develop this west side area, and when that's developed, this obviously will not have to have a connection like that. And I realize, like, it's probably pretty unorthodox to see somebody investing into building out these main roads when there's pretty much no reason for it. And you'll see that there's kind of like a method to why I'm doing that, but I do agree that it's not the best way to do things for sure. So I'm gonna try and if I put the road here, I'm gonna try and develop, because it's just stupid not to. And I think what we'll do is if you're going to be transitioning this road into a smaller, lower capacity road, it's probably better just to put a roundabout in instead than anything else. So what I'm gonna do, extend it slightly to where I want the roundabout to be, throw in this roundabout, and then use that to connect the smaller residential roads to everything, to the larger main road. So I'm actually just gonna move this further away from the water if we can, and then we're gonna connect this way. Actually, you know what? We'll develop this area first instead. Yeah, that didn't have to be so high, so we just terrained it. Now it's at the level of the community that'll be here, which is good. It's exactly what we wanted to see. It's gonna be an interesting situation, because obviously we want to keep this as straight as possible, but this road would, if exactly straight, it's not really the way we want to develop this. Well, it's not terrible, because obviously we wouldn't build on the beach side, so that would be fine. Actually, also something I want to mention, I have been doing some research on some beach assets. I think what I'll do is most likely create a boardwalk on this. There's an option of having a quay, not a quay, a flood wall or something. The flood wall looks kind of silly, but obviously if we're closer, the quay is kind of cool. I prefer to just have a boardwalk asset, which I've looked into and haven't picked one exactly, but that's definitely the way I want to take this. So in order to use the fires, so we could have some. Yeah, I was gonna say one of the things that I was contemplating at the end of last episode was adding some services, because I knew that we'd be having some issues, and that'll actually remedy a ton of this, because it'll provide access to the upper level as well, Sunset Heights as it's called. And crime seems to be very low, which is good, because I think it has to do with the type of community. It's very high land value already because of the parks, so you tend to not have, yeah, as you can see, like 21 for this time in a city is pretty high. Normally you're seeing like a 9 or so. So because of that, there's usually less crime, and that's likely why we see what we see with this area. Because normally you'd probably have to have more police than we do at the moment. Also, see, there's crime here, so potentially, yeah, I was gonna say potentially a cool idea would be to place a police station on this, either this road. Yeah, it's too far. It actually provides pretty interesting access to both the lower and the upper neighborhood. Although it's an inopportune placement for traffic purposes, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So we'll keep an eye on it, make sure that it's not doing too much to impact the traffic in the area. I want to soften this a bit, so. Looks much better, yeah. Cool. So back to where we were. Okay, so yeah, gonna get back to this neighborhood. What I want to do is angle this road down, keep it a bit off from the coast, because I think this is a really interesting area to put a park, kind of like a riverside park here, and or potentially, oh my god, I didn't even see this little boat wreck. That's so funny. I wonder if we can destroy this. So it's just there, unless maybe if you build something, like it deletes it. No. Oh, it's outside of city limits. That's why. Okay. And I don't even think we can expand south, so I guess we'll never be able to remove that boat there. Anyway, I think it's a good option to leave this open so that when this starts getting more developed, we have the opportunity to diversify the usage on either side of this road. If you do it differently, you're going to end up pigeonholing yourself. If you get it too close to the water, then it's just going to have to be, not a park. So that being said, we're going to do that. Gonna have to pause real quick and destroy this because I think that this will work. Although it is right where we, it's kind of right on the border of where we'd be comfortable doing it. I think it will work for this purpose, simply because we'll keep the zoning to the left side of it. And for now, we'll just do a direct connection. Like I said, it's frustrating to me that the game doesn't support underground wires, underground power supply unless there's zoning. So unfortunately, we're just gonna have to deal with that for now. But optimally, I keep my word. As soon as the opportunity arises, I take that stuff and I destroy it because it's unsightly. So definitely don't want to have that if we can avoid it. Like I said, I enjoy the live and work in kind of community model, so I think it's intelligent to place multi-use zoning in every neighborhood just to get minimize travel, increase jobs in an area, all these things. It's just a great option for your cities. So if we see that demand, have medium demand of commercial zones, we're gonna, instead of building a new commercial district, obviously we do have one which I think is really cool. And I think it was worth doing, but generally speaking, we're going to avoid, this kind of centralization of commercial, if you will. And that's the fire. Yep. Okay. I'm gonna put on 2x speed, just so that we can get that residential demand coming up quicker. I do want to get a healthy population growth in this episode, which we're already kind of accomplishing here. And I'm going to finally do what I said I was going to do, and going to build this park in this little area here. It's going to be really cool, I think. Right on the grounds of the high school. Just create a really all-around interesting area of the community. And maybe also like another option, something I didn't really consider, is putting some commercial zoning in this area. The commercial zoning actually gives support for, you'll get a lot of intermingling of, high school kids and them going to these businesses, and, maybe there's an ice cream store or something. I remember when I was in high school and middle school, there was a bunch of businesses actually pretty close, and it was a really interesting kind of meeting point for a lot of the kids. You would, after school, go and meet at either the restaurants or anything like that. So it's would be a good feature to have this in the community, in my opinion. So I'm kind of considering whether or not we need I would like this to be an open park. There's no reason it has to have a gate. Well, actually, what, a gate's fine. The question would be whether or not it needs has open access. So whether or not we need to put a, sorry, I just lost focus there. Whether or not we need to put a fence. So obviously I want people to be able to openly access it. I'll put the cost to zero, the admission. I don't want people to be paying to come into this park. It's more of like a community asset than it is something for the city to make money out of. So we're gonna put that to zero. It's such a low upkeep. It's 48 per week. It's literally nothing. So not necessary. Just gonna put a ton of money into it just so that we can increase the usage and kind of show that this is a high value area of the, oh yeah, I didn't even realize there's tons of kids here. That's awesome. It's really awesome. You want to clear off these roads, especially very close to the school, keep the traffic flowing. And I think likely we'll have to put some. Well, I think the transit's gonna need a facelift 100% on this in this episode. So it's interesting. That one looks fine actually. But I think, yeah, we're gonna have to add more transit because I've kind of been neglecting transit as a main mode of transportation. Obviously, I've created the the cross city traffic. So the intra-city traffic from the industrial zone to the residential, but there's not much support, for example, within the residential district. So I think that's got to be kind of priority one as we expand to further and further population loads. We're going to need to address the transit situation. So let's finish up that part quick. Put a plaza. Plaza's always a good choice in my opinion. I was gonna say potentially we need to eminent domain some of this property. It's okay. I think like the value that this will bring to the area will be much higher than the cost of potentially losing some of the income from the residential buildings and stuff on it. See, preferably I'd like to have it inside the park, so maybe we'll just continue to acquire this land. Like I said, I'm not that concerned about this. I earmarked this area to be a park anyway, so I think it's just going to create a really great place. So I'm not super concerned about this. And obviously, like, I think, anybody if you had this in high school, it would have been great to have a park, right behind your school. You can, meet friends and go and go to the cafe, and it's a really interesting area for people to be able to congregate, in my opinion. So it is interesting. My concern here is not. I mean, I think there's a potential to have some sort of conflict with bike and pedestrian traffic, especially in a pedestrian dominant park. Again, if this is going to be a park, we would want to disincentivize cutting through and want to incentivize people using it as a place to stay, but at the same time, this is at a high school, so it also it does beg the question: do we want to increase the ability to transit between this block and this block with bikes because the school is here? And as you can see, obviously, immediately it's already getting tons and tons of usage because there's all these people here waiting to get picked up. For example, they can go over here to the park and use facilities and stuff like that. And this is just an example of like cool stuff that you can add to your city, stuff that's really unique and special, that creates kind of like an interesting, unique vibe in your city. I think because a lot of people, when they play this game, they're kind of lost for how do I make my city special, or how do I make it feel real? And investing, some of your time into doing stuff like this really helps with that. I think maybe we'll put a bunch of tables and access for people to eat lunch. Maybe the high school lets kids go out for lunch and stuff, and clearly, like, I'm not perfect, so it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have super clean builds. I don't think it doesn't have to be perfect, but as long as it's kind of increases the immersion a bit, you're going to be in a good spot. So just, again, it's because it's a school, I want to invest the time into, adding some cool stuff. Like, we want the kids to be excited about where they're learning. So just one of those things, like investing the time. I think a lot of people look past this type of investment into they look at this as wasteful in terms of like real life. So investing this much money into parks and stuff is wasteful. But in all honesty, creating a place that's beautiful for people to live in and work in is a really important thing, in my opinion. It increases morale. It increases, as somebody who's worked in offices and worked in, offices that are not fun or are not, they don't have good support for, eating outside or stuff like that. It's always good to support this if we can. People being outside and really enjoying the space that they live in and work in and learn in. So I'm actually going to use the brush instead. It's just going to be faster. I don't have the line tool though. Like I've seen the line tool used before where you can create lines of trees. Maybe I should look into that. It's like weird. I have a mix of palm trees and other stuff here. So I think actually this very well might become the biggest park in the city and might get the most visitors. Oh yeah, we're actually... Yeah, the attractiveness 600. I know the main park, which we put here, I believe. 600 as well. So it's, it's a relative... Yeah, okay, so I guess 600 is like our park attractiveness scale. We only have 600, so nothing special, I guess. But still, I think it's definitely a cool feature to have. So personally, looking back at how I built this originally, I'm definitely thinking that it was an oversight to... Sec. Gotta get it right. Hold up. It was an oversight to not put vertical blocks in on this area, because I think we're gonna have to, just because, for example, the more vertical blocks you have, you get more space to zone, but at the same time, especially for this area, we're gonna need it. But when you're looking at, for example, somebody that lives here, if they need to get down over here, the only way is traversing the entire length. Either way, even if they came around this side, it's traversing the entire length of road, as opposed to if you had a cut through here, they can traverse it in a quicker manner. It just creates better traffic flow. So I think we're gonna, just bite the bullet here and invest the time into making them blocks. Obviously, this lower street really wasn't even, that wasn't the focus to have the focus wasn't population growth. So I'm not really worried about having less land to have people live on. It's not really that important in this context. The important thing in this area is increasing traffic flow, having it be a really easy area to transit, and I think that's what we should focus on. So similar to what we've done around our other roundabouts, I'm going to place a cul-de-sac, or maybe two if we can, or maybe just a large one. I think maybe if we brought this out, yeah, we're gonna do that. I think I should split it a little bit better than that. But obviously, so the reason why I'm doing this is the other option would be potentially creating a crossover here, or even going into the intersection. But theoretically speaking, you want to keep all the intersections away from your roundabout if at all possible. So that's also why we're doing it on this side. Keep it on the inside of the residential road, really kind of minimizing the amount of impact that increasing the zoning here is going to have on the traffic. The roundabout, what is this called? The cul-de-sac is a really easy way to minimize the amount of traffic impact you're going to see, and also get a little bit more zoning out of it. Okay. Just want to take a look at this park, see how it's doing. So it doesn't have as much play as I thought it would, but as you're seeing, there is you know, there are a lot of students, high school students, so they're going, you know, they're using these areas. Oh, I guess that's way far away. Okay, never mind. Doesn't seem like the Sims are exactly adhering to my, you know, the structure that I had with local shops and stuff, but that's fine. But yeah, they're definitely so something that you might not know, you may or may not know. These visitor numbers, they always lag. So even your income with your parks, it always lags behind. So you might actually have a lot more visitors than this. It just takes time to update. I think what I might do is add more buildings. You see, this is just general. I completely forgot that there was stuff like this. So yeah, I want to increase the attractiveness of this park by adding just more support for things. So maybe a dog park inside. I believe this. Where's the dog park? There. Yeah. So if we can fit. No, that's not gonna work. Oh wait, these are road buildings. Okay, never mind. No, I don't want to do that. We'll just have to wait. Potentially another cafe towards the entrance side. Just to, of course, increase the amount of facilities we have and increase the amount of flow from both sides. So maybe people that live here will come and go to this park for cafes. I mean, imagine, like, obviously this stuff would be great. Imagine if you lived right here and you had a cafe right behind you. You could, you know, just walk around or go right behind and get a coffee in the morning or something. Maybe the sound wouldn't be perfect, but at the same time, it's interesting. Creating interesting areas is what I'm after. I like to create neighborhoods and features that are intriguing to the eye, as opposed to kind of boring. So I hope that comes across. And I do think as kind of, you know, humanity progresses and things get you know, more and more advanced, I think we're going to see a lot more focus on creating communities that are more livable as an entity, as opposed to having to transit so far to do certain things. So yeah, I'm keeping my eye on the commercial demand. We're obviously, you know, we're growing at a fantastic rate. The residential population has kind of skyrocketed since this episode started. Adding another 1,000 almost, which is great. It's kind of that's what I wanted from here. I wanted to increase to about 1,000. And once, so obviously, you know, episode 7, no, episode 6 is episode 6. Obviously, you know, having a population of 4,300 is kind of low for 3 episodes that are almost 40 minutes each. I mean, for 6 episodes, almost 40 minutes each. But I think the reason why we're progressing at this rate is to really be tactful, because once you hit around 7,000 and we're going to have like high density residential, for example, then the population is going to skyrocket. I think probably by episode, we'll probably be at 7,000 next episode, and everything after that's just exponential. So maybe at episode 10, we'll probably be at 15,000. Episode 15, it'll probably be 40,000. It's just going to grow kind of really aggressively from there, in my opinion. So want to be very, very careful. And I think that's kind of, you know, the name of the game in this situation. Be very careful about how we're expanding, so that when the time does come to rapidly expand population-wise, we're not in a bad position to do so in terms of our infrastructure and the area that we need. So I'm on 3 times speed for this one, which I normally don't do, but the growth is just so healthy, and the money we have, 100,000, we're doing the best we've done so far. So I think it's not like a bad thing to continue just expand. So I think this is actually a great point to kind of wind down the episode, and in doing so, addressing more transit. So what I'm going to do is add 2 lines. One will be to connect this area with the greater network, and the other one will be to kind of expand to create another network to service this side, and potentially break this up into modular components. So we're going to go into transit a little bit deeper this time. This episode, excuse me. You know, and things like this. So seeing 59 people at one stop, that kind of leads you to believe that there's, you know, where are these people going? Is there any, for example, is there any common transit points? What would be the reason that there's such high demand for this stop specifically? And you can see like high school. So I think one of the big things with addressing this this transit addition, we're gonna have to address the high school and creating more access to the community from the high school to the other communities in the area. I think we're gonna start no, never mind. We're going to start here. Yes, this is actually there's a method to my madness. Promise. So we're gonna start by coming down, giving access to one of the park entrances. This will be a great opportunity for just creating mobility between the park and the rest of this area. I think we'll skip blocks because it doesn't have to be every block. This is a pretty small neighborhood. And I think what we'll see is if we don't branch this out, we're going to get a ton of complaining from the commercial stretch of property. So we're going to want to create outside support as well, exterior support on these roads. And then the idea would be to wrap back around, maybe add a couple more stops, and then head on back. Can I do one last one? And then reconnect. And again, the idea here is the idea here with this line is not to create an all-encompassing line at all in any way. The idea is to create a line that traverses this neighborhood and then brings the neighborhood in contact with other bus lines, other transit lines. It has nothing to do with creating, like, you know, a full service bus line to this area. That's just not the goal. And I think to kind of hit that home, what I want to do is link these up at the same stop. So we want just, you know, so for example, if somebody wants to go downtown, you can take this bus line, stop here, and then get on the bus line to traverse all the way down. And that just creates more transit access all around. As you can see, like again, there's tons of traffic. So this is just kind of looking ahead and saying we're going to need support for this soon. Maybe even sooner than I thought, actually. So I do kind of want to clean this up a bit. It's not actually perfect. It's not I don't think it's a good solution. Line wise, I think it probably is smarter to. Which one? Ooh, awesome. Okay. Oh, okay. So that's actually this one here. Awesome. I think the better. I think let's pause real quick and kind of undo a lot of these stops. I actually kind of regret the way I did it in the first place. So, and I'll explain why. The reason being, I think the most intelligent way to do this would be to actually address the commercial on the way in and then do the park last. And the reason being, we want to, although people coming into the community obviously would want to get to the park, maybe. This is primarily a park to the residents here, and we want to create a bus line that actually prioritizes getting residents to the park as well. If we don't prioritize getting residents to the park, then it's not going to be used to its fullest extent. So that's kind of where my head's at now. And sometimes what I like doing is kind of doing this diagonal where you don't have to do each long block, but if you cross over, you're actually going to get better usage from either side. So people, for example, that live here can walk to this one, and people that live here can walk to this stop, and here they can walk to this stop. Potentially maybe even adding a second one there. Again, just maximizing the amount of stops relative to the population density. It's kind of the idea here, because obviously if we go straight up then come down, it's not really useful. So if we kind of do this wrapping, it creates sorry, I don't understand why that's happening. It just creates a better access, much better accessibility to every stop. There are going to be a lot of stops, clearly. I always would rather be generous with stops than not, because that's how you avoid the 50 people at one stop, as we saw in the other. The high school stop has way too many people, and potentially that's actually one way to quickly fix it, is putting, I think I actually know the perfect way. So putting a stop in front and allowing them to cross over. We can actually just recreate that by so you'll see it's the idea is to create the same form but in a more simple way. Okay, so we're gonna sim a little bit and see how those lines do. This area, I'm not even sure the population justifies it at the moment, so we'll probably just leave that for next video. Okay, and I think that's maybe next time we'll go super in depth into transit. I don't know. I still think our population's low enough right now that we don't have to focus on it too much. Just want to make sure that the support exists. So that's going to do it for today's episode in Rangeview. Once again, I want to extend my gratitude. I really appreciate anybody who's been tuning in. Really enjoying making this series and kind of fleshing out this really interesting and diverse city. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. So that being said, if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like multiple videos I've made, go ahead and subscribe, as I post content almost every other day. Definitely want to make sure you get the updates for that. You click the bell icon if you want to get updated immediately with notifications. Again, just want to say thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video.